Hi, it's Chris Titley here. As part of the Sub11 Uncovered series, we're joined by James Morrell, co-founder of Muval, in the very first episode. James, thanks so much for being part of this series and being member number one.
Thanks for having me.
Muval, let's talk about Muval. What is Muval for those that don't know the business? And going back to the early days, how did it all begin?
Move's a booking platform for moving house, essentially. So I think booking.com, but for moving. We started back in 2018, and the original story is my co-founder, Mahdi, was running a moving company at the time and was sick of trucks coming back empty and just having underutilized space, for example, and wanted to leverage technology, leverage a marketplace style of business to be able to list that available space and then have customers be able to book that at a discounted rate. Then the removal company wins because they're able to maximize kind of profit and space utilization. Customer wins because they get a discounted price, and then the marketplace for facilitating that connection between supply and demand would be able to take a clip and everybody wins. I mean, this is a practice known as backloading in the industry. But it's never really been done at scale across the whole country. So that's where we started. But then we realized that actually moving itself is like a really interesting moment in time for a lot of different services and a lot of different products. You think that your consumption habits change dramatically in the weeks leading up to and post moving. Think about you're eating more fast food just because everything's packed up. You're establishing new habits in your new location when you move into a new neighborhood or whatever. You need to find a new gym, where you're going to do your grocery shopping, all that sort of thing. So there's a lot of interesting kind of behaviors that change in the moments around moving, so that on one hand, and the other hand, the removals industry and the process of moving, we realized was very much untouched by technology in general. So we thought, oh great, we've kind of stumbled across here like a vertical that for whatever reason is completely untouched by tech, and we can build a lot of tech that helps to solve a lot of the pain points for a lot of people. And so I suppose that the idea for Moveable matured, and we were able to see, right, well, there's actually a role that we can play here that can provide technology across a range of different areas to improve the moving experience for customers, and then also help businesses run more efficiently and connect with those customers at that crucial moment in time.
When you've got a marketplace, obviously there's two sides, and you've got interest on both sides. But then from a consumer point of view, like a B2C play, how have you gone about getting people to understand that Movable exists, firstly? Secondly, industry education around moving. And thirdly, your tactics around saying, well, someone is moving home, let's try and grab them now to actually use the service.
Yeah, for sure. So it's a good question. I mean, classically, marketplaces are difficult because they have that chicken and egg problem, or you're needing to spend money to grow both the supply and the demand sides of the marketplace in order for there to be real value that's perceived by either side. For us, we're in the fortunate position that the supply side is something that once we started to have a credible name, we managed to have a nice flywheel of moving companies that would come to us rather than us having to go out. Now that took a little bit of effort in the early days because I suppose people were very sensitive to what had happened with taxis and Uber, and I think verticals like this were very sensitive to any new tech player coming in and basically gutting their margins and really disrupting them. And so there was a little bit of skepticism early on, but when we established ourselves and communicated with moving companies about how how we work with them and facilitate that win-win-win that I articulated before. We started to get a good reputation, and then people were able to come to us and they saw that. So then it really just left how we're going to acquire people efficiently on the consumer side. And we were really focused on unit economics even before this latest push. I think everybody now talks about unit economics, but this is something that we've had drummed into our kind of collective psyche in the business from day one, which is that if we can't acquire a customer for cheaper than we can extract value or provide value to them, then we don't have a viable business. And so for us, one of the big levers and one of the things that we had a lot of success of that took a long time, but we got there in the end, was organic search. And really that's about, for us, creating really valuable content for consumers that help them understand the moving process, give them, guides and tips and tricks and all that kind of thing that helps to facilitate and answer their questions about moving. And then on the back of that really valuable content that we're producing, we're able to then, put our services and products in front of them, and then hopefully they book. And that content, when done right, gets rewarded by Google by being ranked highly. And that's something that's the position that we find ourselves in now.
And James, when you've got people using your platform and giving you reviews and giving you feedback, I'm interested to know what your thoughts are on a 5-star review versus a 1-star review.
Yeah, it's a good question. Obviously, when you're moving house, trust is like the biggest factor in terms of conversion rate and having people book through your platform. So you imagine we're asking people to trust in us to manage the entire process of moving their entire life, all of their valuables in the back of a truck. Like, that's a big ask. And so trust is a massive factor, and there's nothing that builds trust more than the reviews and ambassadors who have used us in the past, that they're happy to validate and vouch for our services. And so, that getting reviews from our customers and getting feedback continuously has been something that we've been doing from day one. We're in the luxurious position now where we've got over 1,000 verified, Google reviews that are 5-star. Obviously you can't review on Google unless you're logged in, so they're all genuine customers. And I think on the 1-star review front, for us, inevitably, there's always going to be occasions where, for whatever reason, the truck wasn't able to turn up on time or whatever. Fortunately, with the Muval platform and the quality assurance that we have in place, those instances are few and far between. But there are occasions when you've done 40,000 moves to date, like we have, you're going to have a couple. And so I think what's most important with 1-star reviews is just how you respond to them. And so you'll see, like, if you go on our Google profile, that we're actively engaging with people when they've given us negative feedback, to reach out to us and engage with us directly, so that we can see if there's anything we can do to remedy what happened. And the team do a really exceptional job of that. And often we find that 1-star review that a customer left, I suppose in a moment of frustration, we're able to get turned around into a 5-star review because of the exceptional service we're able to provide, and that middleman position that we're able to play with customers and get good outcomes for them.
Yeah, it's a good way of answering it, James. I'm interested to know also, from the feedback that you get from your users, how much sort of has driven product innovation, or has that come within in terms of the features and the ability to do different things on the platform?
Yeah, so I think the predominant thing that customers are always looking for in this particular moment in time is just convenience and good pricing. And so I think that really drives all of our product innovation is how can we create more and more different services that are consumed at that particular moment in time, and have them easily accessible to customers and with transparent pricing when they come through our booking platform. So we can really be that end-to-end solution for everything that needs to happen, or as many things that need to happen during that moment of moving as possible. So it's one less thing for the customer to think about. And that's feedback we get over and over again, is that they really appreciate the fact that the Muval platform is able to facilitate so many different aspects of moving forward.
I'm interested in the customer journey. Like, for instance, I use Domino's, right? And they send me an email, they send me a deal a day, or they send me lots of different types of formatting. I suppose they understand timing and when I'm reading for eating and all that sort of stuff. But in your journey, moving is only potentially once or twice. You've probably done some research on that in one's life. So you want to capture them probably before and a little bit after, but then in between those gaps of 5 years or 10 years, how do you kind of connect, or do you connect with the customers?
Yeah, good question. We certainly approach. We do have repeat customers. I think we've had some customers use us 4 or 5 times in the few years that we've been around. So we are there is repeat, and there's that section of society that finds their forever home and stays there for 40 years. And then there's that section that are more kind of mobile and moving interstate. And there's different moments in life where you tend to move more. So when you're young, you're going from share house to share house. You're moving a lot. You're probably moving your belongings yourself there, and not really using professional services. If you're expecting a new one and the family's expanding, you need more space. Like that's a moment in time. Or the kids have left the nest and you're downsizing. You're a little bit older. That's a particular moment in time. So it's punctuated by these moments in time. But in between those moments, we're not actively reaching out, because I don't think we're particularly relevant to the customer at that point in time. But we do try and make sure that we're, putting ourselves and expanding our distribution in a way that when you do drop into that moment where you start planning for a new move, that we're in spaces that you can find us. So whether it's referral partners or affiliate partners that we have that are involved in real estate that are able to mention Moval and some discounts that you're able to get. I mentioned the organic search earlier, where you start to look for pricing and get estimates about how much your move is going to cost, and we show up there. Or just the great content that we're producing, video content and that kind of thing on. All right, we handle moving, day in, day out, every day of the year. There's a lot of wisdom that we can share about how to go about that process, and that, we've got tons of YouTube content that helps people do that. So we're in a lot of places. So when you're in that moment in time, you're going to come across Moval in some way when we're relevant.
And in that journey of Moval so far, you would have had some investment. Can you talk about the importance of investors on your cap table, and also their benefits, not just through just a check and straight money?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're fortunate to have some really great investors in Moval. No institutional investors, but a few angels and a family office, and they've been incredibly valuable in terms of opening Moval up to their networks and just being able to get different advisors at different moments in time that have been important. There's some distribution that's come from, and some partnerships that have come from introductions from those investors, but also just having people that are alongside the journey with you, I think has been really, really valuable for me personally. People you can call that have skin in the game, that can ride the highs and the lows of the business with you. I think that I'm really thankful for the investor group that we have that have been on that journey with me through, and my co-founder, through the difficult times and through the good times, and have been there to celebrate or to pick me back up when things have been really tough. That's that's probably been the most valuable thing for me.
And James, looking forward to the future, what's on the horizon next for Moval in the near term? And I suppose one final question on top of that is some piece of advice that you may have received from either an entrepreneur that you know, or maybe an entrepreneur that's well known that it sort of drives you on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. So, for us, the last 12 months has really been about optimizing. We completely rewrote the entire platform that we run our whole business on, and launched it in March of last year. And we've seen some great efficiencies and optimizations in the business come from that. We've expanded our service offering. We're doing a lot more in the connections and utilities space now. And really for us, the business is at a point where we've passed kind of profitability, which is excellent. Massive turn in the business over the last 12 months as those efficiencies have come through on the back of that new technology has been fantastic. And so we're really hitting our strides in terms of scaling now, because the business is in such a great position. And so for us, really, it's about expanding distribution at the moment. As I said before, getting into more and more of those partnership arrangements and so on, just being top of mind at that moment when we're relevant to customers. Expanding our distribution is a big play. We're moving and are starting to get more and more into corporate relocations. So where bigger businesses are moving employees around for new work opportunities, where we're assisting businesses with our employee assist product. That's driving a lot of value there. You think a lot of businesses just leave it over to the employee to get 3 competitive quotes and they'll reimburse them, and the employee's got to be out of pocket. Like we help to facilitate that entire process, to take the heavy lift off HR and hiring teams to manage that process, to take the burden off the employee about doing that 3 quote. We're able to source all of that for the customer properly, and put pricing in front of them, and then manage the finance aspect with the finance team. And so that ends up being a much better experience, both the employee and for the organization. So that's a big area of growth for us as well. And
the piece of advice.
Sorry, what was that?
The piece of advice.
Yeah, piece of advice. I think the things that I've always found the most valuable from fellow startup founders is people that are real about the struggles. And I think someone said to me early on, if you haven't cried already today, you're not doing it right. And I think that sort of stuck with me. It's just like, actually, everybody finds this stuff really hard, and it can be a really lonely journey. And I think I think the solidarity between people trying to get things off the ground and start new things and do things that have never been done before, and the people that are really honest and real about how hard that is, I've always found a lot of value in those discussions because it just helps you to realize that it's not all easy, and other people are going through it too, and there's a lot of solidarity that gets built, with those discussions. So that's probably what I would say.
Yep, and James, I really do appreciate you taking the time and being the first member of Sub11. And the idea of Sub11 is to amplify innovation and to tell real stories as opposed to sort of glorified stories, ones that potentially a number of people haven't heard before. And I really do congratulate you on the success of Muval thus far. I have followed the other business for a number of years now, and you seem to be going up and up, always out here to reach out and have a coffee or have a beer if you need it at any point in time, and certainly look forward to catching up again in real life.
No, I appreciate it, mate, and I love what you're doing with Sub11. So good on you for getting this new initiative off the ground.